lineup, Tincho versus Tyler.
We are back and ready to go with the final match of the day, actually. It's going to be Tyler versus Tincho. I'm going to be brought to you by Saltly. It's going to be pretty fantastic. I think Sal's a little bit nervous about a couple of things with Tyler wanting to get through for you, I imagine.
Just a little, yeah. There's probably one man in this building more nervous than I am, and it's not Tyler himself. It's Fantasy, our complexity manager,
somewhere out there.
Wears his heart on his sleeve whenever his boys are playing. But yeah, obviously I'm rooting for Tyler on this one, my teammate, but I will try and keep it 100 in terms of the unbiased commentary.
Okay, well, without further ado, let's get this match underway. So stepping onto the stage first, hoping to not give Sottle a kind of heart attack, it's Tyler.
Recently moved from the Europe region, representing APAC now in his home country of Vietnam.
And his opponent, representing the South Americas region and also potentially giving a very strong performance from the Americas, it's Tincho.
A very proud South American at that, made it very clear he felt the region was strong and that he wants to prove it.
Yeah, and Tincho, to be completely honest, probably very happy with a rematch now. Just saying, right, my lineup was favored versus Tyler's last time. He didn't win because Tyler managed to get the work done mainly with that quest rogue, in my opinion. But, you know, he's happy to go at it again. Same bans as last time, same strategy. Can't really argue with it.
No surprise, yeah. This is a very, very obvious ban from both sides. There's not really any opportunity to try and mind game the other player, to bait and switch, to any of that. It's just Tempo Mage nukes Tyler's lineup. Even Warlock is the best anti-aggro deck in Tyler's lineup, so Tincho gets rid of that. We're just down to the same series that we saw on day one. And yeah, we were discussing with Tyler when he lost his winners match and realized he'd have to wait for the winner of Tincho and Island Cat, that he wanted Island Cat to get the victor out of that one because it was a slightly better lineup for him to run up against. He understands that he got the favorable side of the variance in their opening encounter. I think he also played very well, which helped him get to that position. But statistically, he is a massive underdog in this format.
Let's kick it off then. Game number one, Tyler on the Quest Rogue and Tincho going on his Druid, which is of the token variety. Probably one of the better matches, if not the best matchup Tyler could hope for after the bans.
Just about, yeah. There's a lot of opinions that fly back and forth on this matchup. The HS replay statistics put it at 47% for the Quest Rogue at Legend. I would argue 50-50, maybe even slightly above for the optimal Quest Rogue players. Although I would say I'm probably a better Quest Rogue player than I am a Token Druid player, and I think Token Druid is also an extremely high skill cap deck. So I might not be giving enough credit to how much percentage the best Token Druid players can eke out in this matchup.
I think, as often is the case, we're two sides of the same coin here, because I play a lot of Token Druid and I am happy to take on nearly any deck with that one, because I think it's actually the most powerful Druid deck, at least in my humble caster opinion.
I do believe that Fino ran this as a show match, though. Fino, who's a player for F2K, if you don't know, is notorious now for running show matches to test matchups at a high level between top players. And I believe this matchup was run, and I believe the Quest Rogue did come out on top.
I just got lucky. So let's kick off.
Citation needed. I'm not 100% confident on that, but I'm putting my neck out.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure no one will chop it off.
Oh, I bet they will.
Karen's below. No big surprise here. Double Fan of Knives means that there is a level of answer to the potential Whispering Woods on 4 play, which is something that isn't remotely uncommon. In this matchup, or any matchups, to be honest, there aren't a lot of times that I don't want to just say, okay, I'm going to make 4 to, you know, X 1/1s, and then we'll just see what you can do about it. If you can, then you can really cash in on that Power of the Wild, just getting better trades, maybe even an early Savage draw. All of these things can really push you ahead as a Token Druid. But of course, we can see Tyler has an answer or two, but Tincho actually just doesn't have it in hand at the moment anyway. Already big questions being asked. You make a 3-2? I normally would. Against Quest Rogue, I don't want to sit and do nothing, because I feel like that definitely favors Tyler more than it does Tincho right now.
Against a double backstab Quest Rogue, though, that's a big question mark for me.
I don't know. I really like just putting some form of pressure on.
Okay. I think the Power of the Wild for me, like, you can play it as a 3-2 where they have a decent chance, even if they're not keeping backstab, which they probably don't in this matchup. If there's 2 of them in the deck, you just have a decent chance to have one in your opening hand by this point anyway on the coin, even if you full mulliganed. Versus, you can actually use Power of the Wild just to play around Fan of Knives, right? Like by summoning a big minion and then buffing them all +1/+1. So I think using it in Panther form plays into your opponent's cards, whereas using it as buff form plays around your opponent's cards. So I would generally err on the side of keeping it there.
Okay. Maybe I lean too much into, well, it's a fantastic activator for a lot of the cards. Like Minstrel, for example. Maybe it's not as big an issue to get rid of the activator when your opponent has a coin, because they already have one anyway.
They already have a coin.
Yeah.
Tincho nodding at the Plague Draw. Not sure quite what that means to him at this point.
And I think this is the, at least, mental trap I fall into of, if I was Tincho right now, I'd be like, oh, 2 turns. Token Druid often doesn't do anything super crazy early on, but against Quest Rogue, I feel like every turn you wait and don't do something big is a turn they get closer to just absolutely nailing you to the wall.
Yeah. Coin Minstrel is a play that has a massive win rate as Quest Rogue versus all varieties of Druid. Tyler just considering whether he even needs to go that fast, though. With Coin, that's like a whole extra Sonya activation if he gets. Right. He's going to pair it with a Charger later on.
And also as well, Tincho's not going anywhere fast. It's not even been Wild Growth pass. It's just hard pass every turn, but he's going to go for it and just get that value.
Was a man from
So small note, but Minstrel drawing minions means just get Sonya progressively more powerful because you draw minions like a deckhand that can be very powerful, as we've seen for the past 2 days, getting that quest active.
Like a Giggling Inventor that you can just leave on the board and then trade the 2/1 in, and then it's broken.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Tincho about to go through his 3rd turn now with no development and was actually sat back, eyes closed for a number of seconds there.
Just hovering over the cards there, just trying to, I think, form some kind of long-term plan. But outside of Nourish, draw some cards, I don't really know what long-term plan you can form with this hand. Maybe you even Nourish for ramp and just presume you'll get there with a Spreading Plague buff. But that's a big ask when you don't have, say, the Soul of the Forest. You don't really have, outside of Power of the Wild and Raw, enough damage to actually kill your opponent.
Do you want to sink mana into a deckhand bounce here so that you need less mana for your Sonya completion a little bit later on? If Nourish Arcane Tyrant comes down next turn, then you're gonna Sonya deckhand in for 2 and then 1, and you're gonna be 1 short of filling out the 5th anyway.
So that makes it not worth it, right?
Right.
Because you'll have a 3/2.
Right. Actually, that might make it more worth it, because you can then Sonya, you've played 1 deckhand, you bounce it back to your hand, so you have the 2nd deckhand in hand, and then you can Sonya deckhand twice and then finish off the 4/4 with the Youthful Brewmaster that you already have on board, and then that's the last deckhands that you need between the bouncer and the deckhand. This actually makes sense.
There was too many usages of deckhand and hand. I've just run out of. I've lost track of where we are right now.
Just trust me, this is a nice setup against Nourish Ramp Arcane Tyrant.
Okay, I'll commit to trusting you this once, Sol.
Yeah.
If it doesn't pan out, our trust is gone. Okay. It's over. And now again, Tincho just trying to piece together a plan from what looks okay, but I feel is actually just a very mediocre to bad hand. Even though there's Nourish there, even though there's buffs, even though there's Spreading Plague, it doesn't do the proactive things, right? If you're reacting with a Spreading Plague to your opponent's Quest Rogue,
yes,
then you are very behind, and you may just lose the game.
Tincho draws.
I do like the Nourish for draw.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm generally, whenever I'm forced to play Nourish to draw cards as the Druid, I'm pretty hate-filled. And look, no Tyrant coming down from Tincho respecting the threat of Sonya and also the ability to just hide that later behind Spreading Plague as more of a tempo swing. Great recognition of the situation.
I like it. But carry on, Nourish draws, you were saying?
Oh yeah, I mean, I hate doing it. Like 5 mana draw 3 is just bad. Like you wouldn't play that card, right? But sometimes it's just necessary, right? You can't trust your deck all the time to give you something that's gonna fill out your ramp curve.
Yeah, it's the fact that the power part of it is it's 5 mana, draw 3 when you need it.
Yeah.
Which is,
Exactly.
you know, sounds a lot nicer. As always, most things sound nicer when I say it versus when you say it.
Is that true?
I hope you like my invention.
Okay. Sounds nicer in intention, if not in accent.
Choose soon.
I never said accent.
Okay. But yeah.
And this does, you know, it is so funny to me that Tincho not developing a minion gives Tyler an awkward turn, right? It's a backwards Hearthstone, isn't it? It's so weird, yet it is exactly correct from Tincho. And you saw Tyler had a much weaker turn than turning on his quest.
It's why, I mean, there are many, many, many valid complaints against Quest Rogue. Let me just get that out there first and foremost. But one of the invalid complaints about Quest Rogue is that it's a non-interactive deck. You don't get to interact with what they're doing. Guess what? Tincho just made a decision which put him in a better position against Quest Rogue.
Woo!
Yeah,
Woo!
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, Tincho now has committed to this Spreading Plague, and double Tyrant makes the turn look way more powerful. And, you know, we've just talked about the power of not playing minions, but guess what? You do have to play them eventually if you actually want to win a game of Hearthstone most of the time, especially as a token deck. But this is the level of power you expect, because now, unless something is absolutely ludicrous that happens, Tyler can't get the quest live, which means these two Tyrants are actually very safe right now.
Yeah, this is the difference. Tincho playing the first Arcane Tyrant on the turn where he nourished, Tyler would have completed his quest essentially. I believe he would have had like a 1-mana deck hand in hand that he needed to finish the quest with, and Tincho would have had an empty board. This way, Tyler is in the same situation, quest nearly finished apart from the just last deck hand that he needs to play, but Tincho has 2 4/4s that he gets to mess around with. He's just in a much stronger position by just waiting.
I wonder.
I'm with you, Malfurion. This is a hard turn. I think Soul of the Forest, Power of the Wild Spellstone looks nice to me. Because if they vanish, if Tyler vanishes, then he has Tincho has Spreading Plague 2 Tyrants. Because you've got emptied enough hand for you to soak the minions back into your hand again. And you push for a lot of damage. You push what? You can push 12. And Spellstone that's on you.
He has vanished your Soul of the Forest though, which will make you sad as Tincho.
That's true.
Because if they get a fast enough quest, the Soul of the Forest is like the only kind of board that they can't really compete with.
Okay.
I guess Plague into Strong Shell Scavenger is the other one as well that they can struggle with.
Now, this still pushes a nice amount of damage, and whenever you've done this, Tyler has to think, wow, I'm just dead next turn. You have to presume it, because you're not asking Tincho to have that many cards for you to die from this board.
Right, and I think that's Tincho's thinking here, is that like, as long as Tyler doesn't have prep for his quest, he might have to vanish this board anyway because of the threat of damage. Unfortunately, Tyler does have prep, and we saw this from him yesterday. He does seem to obsessively prep before he activates the quest, which is just Novice Engineer training wheels. That's all that is. It's to make sure you never burn the quest.
Yeah, I think that only ever becomes an issue when Novice Engineer is being played or when I'm playing Quest Rogue. I have burned the quest on a random full hand before.
I've done it too.
It was a dark day.
Yeah. I did it testing matchups against Falcone.
Did you lose or did you still win?
No, I lost.
Oh, okay. But, you know, I thought you would have took the win.
Wow, the shade of Falcone.
Nah, it's okay. He'll be okay.
What to do?
Swipe cleans this up pretty nicely without healing Tyler anymore. If he so chooses, it looks like Tincho
But
is favoring a Malfurion.
Right, it's swipe no development. That's the problem with that play.
Soul of the Forest. Kind of developer too.
Yeah. Tyler, from this point onwards, has basically one turn that he needs to find something to do on, and then he has Valera into the double giggling nightmare.
The circle of life is over.
And he has potentially 4 Fans of Knives now. Fan of Knives? Fans of Knives? Fan of Knives. Yeah.
For knife fans.
Yes, good. Once he gets into Valera form, which means that Tincho will find it extremely difficult even to stick a Soul of the Forest board from this point.
I'm going to ask you a weird question.
Please don't.
Okay, so moving up.
You like my invention?
Novice Engineer to the drop down, draw a card, and there's Giggling Inventor number 2. Which means Tyler has gigs for days.
Just jam one, right? With 2 fans in hand, it doesn't really matter how wide you go. Like, Spreading Plague isn't that scary. You've already seen one Scavenger, so their ability to, like, Plague Strong Shell you isn't that scary. And this is the turn where they can't do that anyway, because they're only on 9 mana.
This leads into my...
Choose soon.
Okay, maybe the Shadow Step changes things.
Go on, I can tell you want to ask your weird question.
Are the Scale Hides like even close to it, enough of it, more of a worry than the Annoyatrons for Tincho?
I think, well, okay, because he has Valera in hand, when you have Valera in hand, like, having one copy of everything is ideal, because it then means if you draw one of the infinite chain cards, if you draw like a Zola or whatever, you can essentially go infinite on any minion you want. Plus, just vanilla-wise, you have the ability to double up on both. So since Valera is already sat there and looking like it's being played sooner rather than later, I like him having this variety of cards in hand.
Because there's one thing that I've come across this interaction in this matchup before, where, imagine a world, Tyler's got Valera down, done, and then it's all these Annoyatrons. Well, if you build the correct style of board, the Annoyatrons can't kill themselves off, so Tyler can't play any more minions.
Right.
And then you set up a board which kills the taunt parts of the Annoyatrons and still pushes a lot of damage.
Right.
So sometimes you can actually be restricted by having the board full because it's 1 card equals 3 onto the board.
Okay.
And it can be a little bit tricky. And don't get me wrong, this is normally on the surface where Token Druid has got the rogue at a lower health total.
Sure.
But they set up, say, a Plague. The Annoyatrons can't normally kill them off or kill themselves off to play more Divine Shields. So it gets a little bit tricky. But as you said, the Shadow Step really makes things a little bit cleaner.
The quickest play Tyler's made the entire game. The entire tournament, probably. Just double Giggling Inventor, deal with this kid.
These Fan of Knives are a big deal because they pretty much stop the thing I was talking about.
Yep. As does the Vanish, right? Like, if Tyler ever gets down to, like, a stalemate board state that he just doesn't want to deal with anymore, he can just Vanish, reset, play more minions,
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't a common way to win the matchup, but it's something that can happen, and you have to consider when you go in this heavy into Giggling Inventors.
Tincho going digging. There's Wisps.
Giggs comes down, then Flabeur's Flute will be an active Giggling Inventor as well.
My turn is not.
This is hard now for Tincho. Tincho slips up, he loses. If Tyler slips up once, he can probably recover quite easily. So this is where the pressure points get very different in the matchup right now.
Ooh. Shadow Step again off the top.
I feel like Tyler's got too many options.
Yeah, you often do.
I wouldn't want these choices if I was Tyler right now. I was like, just give me one decent play and I'm done. I'm happy.
Once you get into Valera form with Quest Rogue, you quite often do find yourself with just too many good plays available.
This is... I'm going to keep harping on about this, so I preemptively apologize. But this is part of the situation I was talking about, where there's actually, on this big board, there's only 3 taunt minions. And because Token Druid can go so high burst, that sometimes they can set it up where they kill the taunt minions and still just kill you because each minion's hitting for like 8 or something stupid.
Right. That's not particularly relevant when Tyler can just kill your whole board every turn, though.
No, and that's why I said earlier the Fan of Knives, for example, and the Vanish are really, really important in this
Right, but even without like a handful of insane removal, Tyler can just take care of this board pretty happily.
Oh yeah, but then you add on like Spreading Plague and Solar Forest, and then it looks a little bit different without a Vanish.
Yep.
Did anyone else shudder a little bit then watching that play as the double shadow step on the 2 Giggling Inventors that are just sat on the board? I did, because that's another 4 Giggling Inventors minimum, maximum, infinite.
Yeah, the hilarious thing is that Tyler doesn't even replay one of them because he's just so greedy. He wants to play each of them twice with its own respective Death Shadow afterwards. Ah, Quest Rogue, you're a beautiful nonsense of a deck.
A tangled web.
This is definitely a tangled web.
Tincho is full thinking emoji for a second there.
Okay. Soul number 1.
Power of the Wild to play around the fan.
Okay. So what happens?
Leaving him with 7 cards in hand, so a Vanish would still leave a pretty sizable board behind.
This double fan being used, that's a big deal. Oh no, why? Wait, did he Death Shadow? Sorry, yeah, he Death Shadow. The angle I'm sat at is the relaxed Watch Hearthstone angle, and I actually couldn't see which fan he used, so I apologize. He still has another one, but yeah, these are huge.
Right. Now he can just play one of these Giggling Inventors, backstab a thing if he really wants to. He's just chilling. Just says, you know what? Have your board.
Definitely one player I would rather be right now.
Is it Tyler?
Yes.
Good.
Even though it dramatically increases the chance I would misplay on stream, because I'd have too many Quest Rogue options and too many Death Shadow cards confusing me, I would still rather be Tyler at this point.
I mean, you can just see how comfortable Tyler's position is. Like, that was basically the biggest push Tincho has available in his deck, and Tyler just didn't even really care about it.
Right. So double Savage Draw, and there is a Branching Pass, which is normally the maximum amount of damage you can expect to buff from hand.
Yeah. But there are 7 attacks needed to get through taunt minions.
This is maybe 1 too many Noitrons, and by 1 I mean way too many.
By 1 I mean 5.
Yeah, 4. You can get through 1 pretty easy. And I'm 1 without a Divine Shield.
Death is eternal. My turn is not.
Tincho just needs like 6 more Spreading Plagues. He can do this.
Yeah.
After a while.
But the really key thing there is that Tyler just... Tincho's twice, maybe 3 times set up a board, just essentially saying, do you want to vanish this? Like, I'd really appreciate it if you vanished this board. I'd feel a lot happier about the state of this game if you vanished. And Tyler's just in too good a position to throw away a vanish.
Oh, we burned a card.
What did he even burn?
Mimic Pod.
Mimic Pod.
You've got enough extra cards, Tyler.
Yeah.
What I will say as well is I feel like this situation has been cemented by Tincho's very lackluster opening. There was no Whispering Woods on 4 to test for, say, a fan of 5.
There was no ramp until
there was no ramp for a million turns either. Even after the ramp, the follow-up wasn't that strong. There was Spreading Plague for 2. Plus the Tyrants, of course, which was very powerful. But you Spreading Plague 2 tokens isn't fantastic either. And this is the weird part for Tyler. It's like, do I do nothing?
Yeah, currently,
do I not? Like,
he's burning his next card. He could play around that by playing Lab Recruiter. He could backstab one of his Panda. He does still get his Death Shadow next turn, which is far more important than drawing a card at this point, because he has all the resources he needs to get out of range. I guess, yeah, deckhand is another way.
Also, small thing, but you notice this dagger's never going to be used again whilst deckhands exist, because you'll never be able to re-equip it. Here comes the Spreading Plague. I imagine we're going to see a Soul of the Forest cleanup. Wait. Does Tincho have any swipes?
I don't think so. I think they've both been used. Okay. One has been used for sure.
Because again,
there's 1 card left and 0 of them in hand. But I remember one being used. Pretty sure the other one was as well.
this is also weird, right? Puts everything to 1. Swipe, savage roll, savage roll. Not that it's going to happen, but... I imagine the Vanish is going to be played.
Yeah.
But in a world where Vanishes don't exist.
Right. He's just popping everything first because, again, the hand size of Tincho is quite full, which means if you vanished first, you leave behind some, some of the cards get returned for hand, but the ones that don't die and then their death rattles just activate, you leave the 2/2s on board. That was a swipe, okay. So, yeah, Tyler's sequencing just says, hey, I'm going to pop them all open first, and then the second one just kills your big push, and you can spend 2 mana per 2/2 as much as you want every turn for the rest of the game. I don't really care about that. I'm playing 4/4s for 0.
And Tyler might have looked extremely comfortable towards the end of that game, but I will say it is quite difficult with so many options to do the safest thing, because you feel like you're so far ahead, you feel like you've got so many cards you can play, so many options to get further ahead. Sometimes it can cause you to slip up a little bit.
Right.
And maybe if the Vanish was caused to be used a little bit earlier, that could have got a little bit tricky for Tyler. But he did take the first win over Tincho in a scarily similar way as last time. He did play Rogue first, and he beat Tincho with the Rogue to get the hardest matchup out of the way.
Yeah, I think that was a lot less straightforward than it was the first time around. I think last time he just drew the prep at the perfect time and he powered out the quest and he just got the job done. That one, he really had to stretch out, make sure he had all his resources managed correctly up until the last few turns, because if he ever just lost that Banish and there was too big of a board to come down to deal with, then maybe that big triple buff turn might have been able to force some damage through, but he had a pretty comfortable grip on it throughout.
He did, yeah. People often underestimate how much damage a Token Druid can actually do, especially with wide boards as well. It's a truly scary deck. But what have we got next for... oh, we've got a break next anyway. Never mind. I did not realize. I apologize. But that's only 1-0 for Tyler. He's still got a long way to go before he can relax and qualify through to the next stage for tomorrow. Until then, come back and we'll be back with the next match.
This is the Hearthstone Fall Championship.
Tyler versus Tincho is going to continue. Tyler currently 1-0 up. Did get a win with that Quest Rogue as well, so huge start for him, but can he make it the rest of the way? Sod.
It's not easy. The Quest Rogue...
Can you make it the rest of the way?
I will try. In the eyes of professionalism, I will give it the good old college try. But yeah, Quest Rogue was the most difficult deck for him to get through. I did this in his last series, but if you go just by HS replay, matchups in Legend data, his Quest Rogue matchups in this series were 47%, 10%, 39%, and 26%. So that was the one that he just did not have a good matchup in sight, even though I'd argue with you about Token Druid. With that out of the way, he still has some unfavorables, but he can just get some nice Q orders. He can win some okay matchups, as we saw him do with his Malagos Druid, including Starfall against the Zoo the previous time these players met. It can happen, but he's still not a favorite from this position.
Yeah, and we go into game number 2 as a Druid Mirror, but it is the Malagos Druid versus the Token Druid, of course, we saw from Tincho. And this time, looks like his hand's a little better, at least, with some level of proactive play early on.
And this is one of those so-called okay matchups that Tyler can queue into. This one's actually very, very even between the two Druid decks. Oh, getting less even by the second. Tyler just snaps the growth into growth. Tincho just left waiting again. Nothing doing in the opening turns.
And this
that changes everything.
Okay, we're even up. Keeping it fair. I was going to say as well, this is looking very scary for Tincho, not only because Tyler's ramping, but at the moment, if you look, like Tyler plays Lich King soon. Tincho wishes he could kill it. You know, but I think like there's nothing right now that can get any kind of damage on the board for him.
The wild growth really did change everything though, because Tincho has access to the nourish, whereas Tyler doesn't. So Tyler's 2 wild growths are basically eclipsed by Tincho picking up that 1 wild growth that sends him into nourish on the following turn. And this time with UI in hand, you bet your bottom dollar he's ramping with that nourish.
Yep, 100%. If it was any slower, I think Tyler getting to the Lich King quickly would have been a problem. Just because multiple Lich King cards cause problems for Tincho as well. Mainly, you know, say Death and Decay just to deal with a wide board pretty easily. Oof. Wow. Would you like some Naha? That's a turn, what, a turn 5 UI? We on turn 5? Next turn, I think.
He growth on turn 3, so that was just his turn 4 that he played, and then coin UI on 5, yes.
Sick. Just a nod from Tyler. He's played the game enough for this to happen before, and he's probably done this to many people before as well.
Yep. Fortunately, he does just get to drop his Lich King into a 5/5 here, so he's not in a horrible position.
Well, Spellstone pick up at the very end there will really help a lot, because the rule I talked about earlier of, well, Tincho can't really kill a Lich King even with this 5/5, it's kind of changed now, because Spellstone plus the Ghoul trading in actually gets rid of it quite nicely.
Yeah, Spellstone landing and then upgrading, kind of a big deal.
What do you think about the Frostmourne here for Tyler? What kind of impact is this going to make?
Not the same impact that you know, Death and Decay or a Doom Pact would have. You know, Frostmourne is great in mid-rangey matchups where you can just use it to be aggressive, or you can use it to just snipe out big minions and then get an insane Frostmourne swing. And when you're playing against a token deck, really like paying 7 for the quality of minions that you get to kill over a few turns just isn't really that good.
I think one thing to note is it could open up enough face damage to actually just like Malagos kill, for example. It's 15 damage over 3 turns, but now with double Giggling Inventor, well, that's not hitting face for quite a while now. And now, the age-old question: do you Plague here? And does it ever backfire? Because
Rarely.
Sometimes it does.
Sometimes it does, and it's an important crux of Druid Mirrors, particularly against Token Druid, because if you allow them to trade off their minions and Spreading Plague your Spreading Plague, their Spreading Plague is quite often a lot better than yours. But because there is a 3/4 on the board and a bunch of Divine Shield minions on the board, that makes it very hard for Tincho to do that. So it's a pretty safe Spreading Plague from Tyler.
Right. Use that Spellstone just on the 3-4, just saying I don't want you to be able to just punch through some of these tokens at least, or at least soften them up for the next turn.
Yeah, he wants this board of 1/5s to be as secure as possible, so the next turn he can potentially just jam UI and just be comfortable doing that. It's the best way to do that, just reduce Tincho's damage on board with the Spellstone.
So now do you think Tincho has to get through this Plague with the lowest amount of resource usage versus setting it up to try and reverse Plague? Because you want to do one or the other, right?
Yeah, you can't.
You don't want to double Savage Draw into a Plague and be like, well,
right.
Yep, that's the game.
You can't really set up the Spreading Plague counter to yourself. Like, if you could do the push through with branching paths here, that's more threatening because it's the number one thing on your mind when your Druid opponent is about to play their first 10-mana turn of the game is, what's my best play against Ultimate Infestation? So if you can like leave behind a good board state here where you have 3 or 4 3-attack minions in play that actually gets to push damage past Ultimate Infestation if that comes down, that's the goal.
Do you think there's going to be a 0 attack from Tincho then, at least on the Divine Shield minions?
No, because the 1/5s still need dealing with. The problem with like just leaving them alive is that then Tyler does get his free UI turn, right? Like if you don't do anything to address this board state. Ooh, Tincho. Not sure if he got through everything he wanted to do that turn.
I hope Coro's watching, because depending on how this match plays out, that is a question for later on.
Right. So now the question becomes, do you want to kill these 1/2s as Tyler? And there's a very strong argument to say no, because then your opponent can hit their Spreading Plague Soul of the Forest turn, they can hit their Spreading Plague Strong Shell Scavenger turn.
I've got an argument for yes.
Go on.
It's called Frostmourne. What? You get Annoytrons back, and then if they plague, you get a Plague token back.
Okay.
But that takes them multiple turns to set that up, in which time you can triple Frostmourne.
Okay.
Beat him up with an Annoytron. How about that?
I'm not convinced, I'm going to be honest.
It's not completely stupid, though.
72%. I would Tyler.
Wondering about the 2%, but okay.
Okay, exactly. I was going to say I expect Tyler to kill the 1/1 because that can trade off anyway, and then leave the other Annoytrons at 2 health, because now this minimizes the potential, or removes the potential entirely, for Tincho to trade off and counter Plague. He can still counter Plague if he wants to, but it means that his Soul of the Forest goes on some 1/2s instead of some 1/5s.
What?
Pretty sure that's exactly what I just said, but okay.
I don't think there was one word shared between the two statements.
Plague.
Okay, maybe.
Raven wins again.
Yeah, you win in the most minor way possible.
I will take it today.
All right.
Okay, so the Spreading Plague does look like just the almost forced play from Tincho. He does have a second one as well, but outside of Plague, everything feels far too weak. Needs something to just try and stick onto the board, and it's extremely unlikely that Tyler can clear off the reverse Plague. And even if so, of course, with his Soul of the Forest power, does mean that Tincho can at least threaten Tyler a lot more than he has been doing this game.
Right.
It's so weird for people like, no, I don't want to put my minion to 1. You put my minion to 1.
Yeah.
It's like,
What to do?
Great question, Malfurion. Tyler now will be, with no Dream Petal Florist in sight, if he's looking to set up a Mali condition, a Mali win condition, he's trying to find his free turn where he can just kind of drop Malagos on the board and not be facing lethal there back the other way. And then he can just be holding his Fluke Legos in hand for the rest of the game. But it's, again, impossible for him to do that right now.
not true. Moonfire is 1-1 after the trade.
Yeah, all right, yeah, fair point. Because of this equilibrium between the two boards and all these one-attack minions. Is he doing it? Wow. The Raven plays! Are you giving yourself a round of applause right now?
I'm happy because I feel like once a tournament this has to happen, Saul.
It was actually a really good spot. I will give you credit where credit's due. As a good catch.
Today started off rocky. I feel like we've ended it in the best way.
Hey, you got a lot of sympathy in Twitch chat out of that
It's not
video,
going to last though, is it?
It might. You'll just have to make sure they watch that video every day for the rest of their lives.
Okay, for those of you who follow me on Twitter, you're going to see the same thing a lot. Let's see what happens. But I do like getting the Mali down, though, like, because it's impossible, right, for the Mali to die this turn. Because a single minion can't get 12 attack, right? I'm not being crazy.
A single minion doesn't have to, though.
How many minions does he get through? Oh, okay, so if he plays everything, he does get through. Oh.
Because there's only 4 taunts, so there's 3 attacks spare that need to go into the Mali.
I'll rephrase. Extremely difficult to kill the Malagos.
All that good analysis credit you had built up, and you had to throw it away immediately.
Are you surprised?
No, not.
There you go.
Yeah.
This still kind of feels bad. Especially when you have that in the back of your mind that your opponent still has another Malagos. You are committing a lot of this high damage, and Tyler just wouldn't have, you know, just threw a Malagos onto the board if he didn't have Floop in hand.
Right.
There's no swipe or anything, though. And no Spreading Plague. If only Tyler had an Annoyatron and maybe a 1-5 in that Frostmourne right now. Soul's concentrating far too. I shouldn't joke when Tyler's playing.
This is no time for humor, Raven. This is serious business.
What happened to unbiased casting, friend?
Look, no one believed that, all right? So the problem Tyler's facing now is, even if he had the swipes and whatever other removal options he has in hand, or even if he had them in hand, sorry, like, he commits his Flooped Malagos, he clears the board, Tincho then kills his Mali, and Tyler's just out of win conditions at that point. And then eventually Tincho finds some kind of minion to stick, probably, that carries the rest of the game.
He can just, like, Whispering Woods pass, and that's it off, right?
Yep.
Savage gonna be ending the game, and that was a pretty tough game, I think, for both players. We saw a lot of turns where there was passing as well. And still not over yet.
He's not dead, right?
This is where...
I'm shaking my head at him that whole time.
I mean, it's absolutely fine. All my points still stand. This was a very difficult game for both players.
Yeah.
And it still looks like a difficult game for Tyler. But as I was saying before you rudely interrupted with your head shaking to try and save me,
need to play.
The amount of turns that were actually taken where both players were just passing on full boards gets very, very tricky for these here. And Tyler doesn't look too happy.
Pretty sure he's had that one facial expression on his face this entire series so far.
The camera's just been frozen, we didn't realize.
Yeah.
I wish I could just tap the screen and hide.
I can see.
Let me look at the board.
Yep.
Goes for the draw, gets the swipe, knows it wasn't enough anyway. And now the game is over as Tincho
well identified.
Evens it up. Well, now I'm just going to be super safe and wait till the cameras aren't even on the game. Tincho evens it up at 1-1, and you know, all my points I was making a little bit earlier then, so my apologies, but all my points still stand. Those middle turns of that game got so tricky to deal with as both players were kind of making boards and passing. Yeah. Do I attack? Do I pass? Do I extend? Do I not? Do I soul this turn? Do I not? That is very, very hard to navigate. So fair play from Tincho. He did pretty well there.
He did. I think he played it okay. The lack of Twig on Tyler's part was probably the biggest missing piece of the puzzle, because Twig is such a great card. Not only can it help you just pick off a few tokens here and there and keep control of the game for a little bit longer, but it also allows you to clear the board with your first Malagos a lot of the time, right? Like Malagos, reset mana, do your swipes or whatever, clear the board, and still have that second Mali in reserve from your Floop. When you just have to go for the play Mali and then have the Floop back in hand, it's very easy then to just get starved out of the game.
Right, and you can see right now, just looking at both players, I'm feeling it, because both of these players are just, these are not the faces of people who, you know, I'm not saying they're not having fun, but they're in a very stressful situation right now, as this does take them through to tomorrow. Is the last match of the day, last match, elimination day today. And we're going into game number 3. Tyler on the Druid again, and Tincho on the Zoo. Probably the most hotly debated deck, or at least archetype, that we've talked about over the last few days.
Very possibly, yes. And again, this was a matchup that Tyler won in their initial opener. Don't believe Tincho had the Prince Keleseth start on that occasion, though. Tyler was able to stall for several turns, eventually setting up a double swipe, which took away basically all of Tincho's pressure. And then from that point on, Tyler was pretty much just on the offensive. He's facing down the Keleseth this time, which changes the equation massively. And the early Mali is just not where Tyler wants to be at all.
It really isn't. And even, you know, on the surface, oh, Spellstone kills Keleseth. Right, but you know, every other minion they're drawn, which is almost all of their deck, is going to be +1/+1. So the Spellstone's going to feel pretty bad anyway. And we see the recognition here of Tyler. Just Hero Power, Moonfire. You'd start working on that Spellstone because it's got a lot of work to do to get me to the late game.
Yep.
And we might even see the, you know, pretty unlikely but possible Floop on 4, and we get to see his artwork actually on the board.
Don't say these things to me,
Raven. He's all just opting out of casting. I honestly joked before we came up here and said, should I just ask one of the others to cast this with me? Because I don't think Saul's going to be able to mentally cope. And he isn't.
You're just witnessing the psyche of a man crumbling before your very eyes, and it's not even one of the players.
Right. Even this Void Walker is actually infuriating.
It's very obnoxious.
Because it's going to, 1, get in the way of hero powers, and 2, just chip away. Just extra damage. Although I will say, the rest of Tincho's hand is not looking too hot right now, so that must ease your suffering to some extent.
Yeah, Tincho has just slowed down an awful lot in this position, which gives some hope for Tyler, but still, his hand is not looking great. No Twig, no Nourish. He does have the Swipe, but with the Keleseth already, like, the Swipe is going to do a minimum amount of work. No Branching Paths to buff the Spellstone, no Malfurion, which is the dream card, especially when you have a Spellstone in hand.
We'll say as well, the Soul Infusion pickup, this hand is not the shape you want it to be in Zoo. But I think Soul Infusion, you just take it. I'm going to play Fungal next turn. I can drop Happy Gold this turn. And I'll just get on with this game. I don't think trying to overthink the Soul Infusion onto a better minion is worthwhile at this point. Just a side note as well. Yesterday, these two played each other. Tyler won in 35 minutes.
Oh, damn.
It's game 3.
Yeah.
And we are way past 35 minutes right now, Saul.
Yeah.
So already this matchup is infinitely closer than it was yesterday. And not in a good way for you, Saul. Watched him suffer.
Tyler, having drawn the Naturalize, it's not a great card against Zoo, but it is something you can create a swing turn with. Like, maybe if Tyler can find a spot where he can Faithless a Dreadlord and then Naturalize the Dreadlord, while also getting some value out of the Battle Cry, then he can find himself in a decent spot.
Unleash me.
And that spot might actually be right here, because Faceless Manipulator, coin Naturalize Moonfire gives him a full board clear.
And funnily enough, he gets a second Faceless.
Unleash me.
No, he gets a second Dreadlord.
That is how that works. I genuinely have not played that before.
Oh, baby.
Oh, now he chirps up and wants to talk to me. No, I'm not going to ask you any more questions, Saul.
All right, he's going to hold the coin now. Doesn't want to naturalize the Dreadlord.
Mushroom power.
That's the punish. On the surface, Tyler's Dreadlord did just beat Tincho's anyway, which is why the holdback of the coin was done, I imagine. But Tyler does have a second one, but
Unleash me.
what is it going to get done now? It is only a 3/4.
Yep.
Here comes Natural. Oh, Spellstone, sorry? Wait, is that? Oh, 4 only matters because the Dreadlord can do 1 anyway. So it's just going to be 3/4 versus 4/4 on the board, but Tincho has another Fungal Mancer.
Crucially, versus 4/3. But yes, the Fungal Mancer does still change everything.
Oh, it's even just Soulfire. Soulfire the 3/4. Push the Damahane to the face. But But now Tyler has Malfurion double Naturalize in hand, which, as we've mentioned multiple times in these matchups, Naturalize, not the best card in the world against Zoo, but if you need to buy a turn, buy a turn.
Right. This is something I noticed on day one as well when I was casting Tyler's series then. I found myself like wanting to naturalize a lot more liberally than Tyler did in a lot of situations. And again, there was a spot there where the coin naturalize looked very good to me and Tyler's just holding back.
Now we just see Tincho just saying, you make your little poisonous spiders, I'm going to hit you as hard as possible. 9 health for Tyler.
No mind control tech in Tyler's Druid. Tincho has enough mana to play the cards that he draws here anyway, so there's no real outcome for a heal package draw. Not even enough mana to howl into Plague.
Frustration is nourished from, say, draw, means he can't howl and naturalize either.
Right.
So just 1 mana away from doing anything that Tyler actually wants to do in this turn.
Nice.
Tyrant's a nice pickup.
Yeah, the late Tyrant. It's just this turn, so it doesn't matter that it wasn't in the hand after, during, or before the Nourish draw.
3 damage and Tincho wins the game. That's not 3 damage. Sol can breathe.
He's not, though. It only takes a Spreading Plague to give Tyler some kind of foothold back into this game.
I think that's what Tincho's trying to work out right now, is how many more minions do I need on the board?
Right.
That means there's a difference between winning or losing a game based on Plague, mainly, I think. Chain Gang is a hard sell not to play. I'll give Tincho that one. And there's Alex Straza. But that is not good enough when there's so much power on the board.
Yeah, and crucially, Tincho playing the Chain Gang here actually played around the self-Alex Straza because he puts, 19 damage on board and 16 after the 4-4 trades with the 3-4.
Yep.
A tangled web.
So is this going to have to be swipe, trade, naturalize, naturalize, hero power, cross fingers? But you, so 2 naturalizes open up so much scary things. There's 1 Doom Guard in the deck, there's 1 Soulfire left, and I think that's it. And there's Solarium, which you do have to factor in, of course, because that draws an extra 3 cards.
Dreadlord is going Lich King here to try and find himself a better answer, but that, I believe, is a Soulfire off the top for Tincho. Yes, it is, and that is going to end the game. Tincho is going to go 1 game away from a place in the top 8.
I'm nervous for both these guys. I think as we saw Tincho, not sure there, but I think his hand was shaking just a little bit when drinking out that bottle there just to refresh himself. Keep himself hydrated, which is important for games, guys. That's a free tip for you there. But both these players super tense now. And Tincho knows full well that this does not mean he has won the series.
Nope.
He lost 0-3 to Tyler in his first match in this tournament. He could lose again, and that is possible. See both players just trying to, I imagine the only thing you can do is just try to wind down a little bit between games, try and take the, the few minutes we have between talking to just breathe and just get the previous game out of your mind and focus on the next game. Because you can't be thinking, oh, but what if I played this then? Doesn't matter, it's done. You need to forget about it.
Yeah, it's the odd rogue now that Tincho has left to pick up a win with, which Tyler does have 1 good matchup in his Mali Druid, and Tincho has 1 good matchup against the Death Rattle Hunter. Only a small underdog for Tyler in that one, but with 2 bites at the cherry, Tincho is now a massive favorite. He was already a favorite going into this series. It swung a little bit when Tyler was able to pick up the Quest Rogue win, but now it is massively back in Tincho's favor.
Yeah, not looking good for Tyler so far, or Sottle, and as I do like to torment him to the extent I can, we're just going to step away for a minute before we get into the next game and maybe the final game of this series. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
On paper, with my lineup, I brought Evenlock, Malygos Druid, Quest Rogue, and Egg Hunter. And on paper, all of those decks are kind of weak to aggro. This time around, I think that there were two options. Either you played aggro or you played anti-control, which I did. The meta is kind of settled, so I think everyone does want to play it a bit safe and just bring whatever works. And those were the two lineups that have been working the best for the past couple of months. Backstab and Quest Rogue, that's probably the biggest innovation we've had in a game in the past months. The Dream Petal Forest, it made Togwaggle Druid viable, which was the deck I had most fun with. I had like thousands of games with it. I think it's very fun. I think it's one of the most skillful decks to play. So Druid definitely benefited the most. Druid just has multiple archetypes that are viable right now. It has Token Druid, Malygos Druid, Togwaggle Druid, you name it. Ziliax on its own is just really good because Hunter lacks a little bit of healing, right? So once you stabilize enough and you just have that little bit of extra healing, it's just really good. Yeah. In the last tournament that I attended with my teammate Casey, together we had a combined score of 4-1 against that exact lineup, so I'm not worried at all.
My name is Martin Massa. My nickname is Tincho. I'm from Argentina. Yeah, I think the Europe players are really good. The limit of points to qualify to the playoffs are really high compared to America's region or APAC, but I think we are in the same level. I think Sintolu is a great player. Tyler is a really good player too. I'm facing him also the first match. And Shazam, he's a really consistent player. He's making everything the last month. He's just a really good player. The most dangerous lineup for me are the control lineups. My best lineup to face are the anti-control lineups, the Castro, the Rattle Hunter. I'm facing that the first round also. Well, I really like Cold Warrior. I don't bring a Warrior deck because I was expecting a lot of Castros. Cold Warrior just do nothing, it's so bad. And my playstyle, I usually play like more control or combo decks in ladder, but in the playoffs I qualify, I bring an aggro lineup, and I feel really comfortable. Okay, I did it good with aggro, so let's bring it again to the championship. There are not a lot of aggro lineups, but I'm one of them. The combo lineups doesn't really want to face me.
And that has been a story, I think, for a lot of players in the tournament, is not being able to get a particular deck through.
I think all the combo lineups don't want to face me. I prepare with Nagidan a lot. I really need to say thanks to Nagidan because he helped me a lot. He's a really good friend. But I just really want to win to prove that I'm the best.
Is Tincho going to continue his work to get to the World Championship as the sole South America's representative? Or is Tyler going to put a stop to him and move forward for himself and for Team Complexity? We're about to find out, Sol.
We are. And it is the odd rogue, as I said up before the break, that Tincho now has to line up into one bad matchup for him, or one good matchup for him. Tyler is going to run out the Mali Druid, which is the favorable matchup for Tyler that he has remaining. And even the Death Rattle Hunter isn't a huge underdog. Again, as I said just before we ran into the break, Tincho having 2 bites of the cherry here, even if they were both unfavorables, he'd still have a decent shot.
And now looking at the opening hands, Tincho does have a couple of 1-drops to play around with, and the Myriads. So if he so decides, he can accelerate the pace of the outcome of this game very, very quickly.
Yep.
Oh. The Hench Clan is huge. Spellstone double naturalize. I feel like naturalize is a little bit more forgiving against Rogue, even though it's still not fantastic.
Yep.
I just feel a little bit better than Zoo.
Pretty sure Tyler is going to end up poking this 1-3 here. It means if there is an activated Cold Blood on the next turn, he's able to take care of what will be a 5-2 then without further upgrading his Spellstone. And there is the Cold Blood. I think the hero power onto the 1-3 though will be enough to discourage Tincho from going down that line. Especially since it's deckhand Cold Blood. Like, the hero power Spellstone counter just ends up being so perfect for Tyler if that happens.
Coin Cold Blood hero.
But maybe, I mean, Tincho could say to himself, hey, you know what? If he Spellstones my 5-2 after my Cold Blood's already done 4 damage and I then follow that up with Hench Clan Thug and he doesn't have a Spellstone anymore, maybe I'm just fine with that.
Like I said, he actually could if he really wanted to just coin out a dagger. So Tincho's just saying, you know what? Let's go. Basically, like, you know, let's get this cooking. 5 damage to face, as you said. And then, okay, see what happens. We can see Spellstone is there. Hero power for the 2-1 means Tyler deals with wave number 1. Shake of the head from Tincho. As you quite rightly said, Sol, he has a follow-up in one of the strongest minions in the game. At least for me, in terms of snowballing effect. Right.
Who comes there?
Void Ripper is the pickup, which some people refer to as a bit of a spreading plague counter. I'm not personally amongst them. And that's one of the big problems for Odd Rogue, is they don't even have the luxury of being able to tech in a mossy horror to be able to counter through or find any real good way of dealing with spreading plague. So
that's what people should play even Rogue.
Sure.
This is, I mean, we can see that this naturalize, although not good for Tincho. Tincho doesn't really have the strongest hand right now.
Yeah.
So drawing extra cards might not be the worst thing in the world.
Right.
I think a swipe would have felt significantly worse than the naturalize there for Tincho.
Yeah, and Tyler does just hand Tincho the gas that he needed. That Vicious Fledgling is just yet another threat now that can end up running away with the game. Does this Squire need to be in play?
Probably not.
Right, like it's bad to... You know he doesn't... Okay, you know he doesn't have swipe, so for one thing. So I won't even give credit for the swipe, but it's a combo activator for your Valspine Slayer if you don't end up using it with your coin. And it's also just a token that's in play for Spreading Plague in the future.
It's good for Fungomancer versus the swipe. But yes.
Yeah, two cards to one in either player's hands at the time.
Here comes Spreading Plague, and Tincho has does have an early answer to this as well. It might not be the prettiest answer in the world, but it does kill the taunts.
Yeah.
But does he ever not want to use it?
Which are you talking about, the Void Ripper or the Valspine Slayer?
I initially just leant towards Void Ripper.
Okay.
Because it kills both taunts, but you could just kill one and keep your minions.
Right, the Valspine Slayer kills both as well, right? You just trade your other 2 minions.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah. Go for Void Ripper, Tincho. This does surprise me a little bit, mainly because his Void Ripper also just gets killed by the Tyrant too, so there's a large amount of cleanup potential right now. Doesn't allow him to equip the dagger though.
Dream Petal Florist now gives Tyler a 2-mana heal to 15 in his hand, which is pretty clutch in this matchup. But with Leroy in hand, Tincho only needs to push a tiny bit more here, and Rogue can deal 15 from hand quite comfortably in a lot of situations.
Coin into Myra's.
Wow.
This is signifying. I thought he was going for Valspine right then. I was like, wait, don't you just want to draw your deck right now,
right,
and then kill him next turn?
All the Blood Knight's tempting as well, though. Could just make himself a 6/6 here. SI7 has merit as well, honestly.
Or Cold Blood deckhand, push it all in.
Right.
You can Leroy SI next turn. I think you want to hold the SIs because you can get past a taunt if you need to push a little bit of damage. Because he's got 2 and Fireflies, so you can proc them and deal 4 to face from hand. So I think I'd like the SI hold definitely there. Go with the Blood Knight though. And also, most importantly, Alex kind of sucks this turn. Doesn't do anything apart from putting AA on the board.
Alex kind of sucks, but Naturalize is real good.
Naturalize is good.
What to do?
What a weird game. I love Myra's, honestly. Such a cool card. Naturalize is going to come down, and the Alex gets played offensively to say, actually...
Wait, what?
Did it not get played offensively? Wait, was there an attack to face first?
Well, yeah, he fatigued him.
Oh, it was the fatigue damage.
Yeah.
So you just did it the wrong way around?
Him afterwards. Okay.
Seems wrong, to me at least, Sol. Missed a little bit of damage, but essentially what what Tyler was doing was trying to say, actually, I can just flip the board right now and try and kill you. So although Alexstrasza was not used as a heal, it was used as just an 8-8. Almost just played a giant against the rogue and said, okay, let's race. Now this game just got really wonky because now Tyler can actually just play UI. Tincho's getting deeper into fatigue.
Right.
And the UI is going to put him to 20. And that is an awful ask, even with Leroy Coldblood FI7 agents.
And the UI gets him closer to swipes for more removal, plagues to block out any minions that come down, branching past Ferocious Howl. Moonfire swipe, UI number 2 just end up being lethal here even.
Who goes there?
Yep.
Farspine has to come down to kill the 5-5 or Tincho is just simply dead next turn.
Yeah, he's dead anyway though. He ticks for 5 fatigue next turn.
Right. And then just UI number 2 gets Tyler the win. And even though there was just a shaky moment where we had to ask ourselves what happened of just missing, because he'd already been dead this turn. Right. But Tyler got the win. It was an extremely close one, and getting that Florist down safely, or getting it down at all, and hitting Alexstrasza was a huge deal. It's not only the reduction, but the size of the minion. It was an 8-8 to try and counter the pressure that Tincho put on, and this is even all up 2-2. Don't know about you, Sal, but I'm pumped.
I am super pumped, Raven. Yeah, the wrap up to that game was very interesting because the aggressive Alexstrasza, in theory, was actually a good spot from Tyler. He just executed it weirdly. Because it's very easy to tunnel on defensive Alexstrasza in that position, but he recognized if he put the pressure on, then Tincho has to have like a defensive play against the Alex in the first place, right? Which either has to be Giggling Inventor or Vile Spineslayer. Both of which cost enormous amounts of mana and don't do anything aggressive, which then gives Tyler the freedom to UI on the following turn and still be alive. So it's a really nice setup from Tyler.
Yeah, high pressure plays, and now we are going into the last game of the day. Actually here, it's going to be Tyler versus Tincho. This is for tournament life for these two players. It means the world, but one of them is going to end very disappointed in just a few minutes. Here we go. It's going to be Tincho on the Rogue again, and Tyler on the Death Rattle Hunter. You've talked almost all week about Death Rattle Hunter not having as bad a matchup versus the aggro decks as a lot of people think it does. But what do you make of this one, Sol? Can Tyler get the job done?
This one's about as bad as people think it is. It's
never mind. Okay, moving on.
It's the Zoo matchup specifically that I've been fighting you on for most of the week. But yeah, this one is an edge for the Odd Rogue, 55-ish, that kind of region. Tincho does hold on to the Hench Clan Thug here, tosses the Cold Blood, which I find a little bit interesting. There aren't too many ways for Hunter to interact with early minions, so if you get the same sort of start that you had in the previous game as Tincho, where you just go one drop into Cold Blood, that can almost be game over single-handedly.
Yeah, it's probably that, but backwards, right? Because he doesn't have any early game minions, wants to try and mulligan for them because Hunter doesn't deal with them, and a Cold Blood is more of a bonus effect. So I don't mind the throw for the Cold Blood, but of course Hunter doesn't want to take early damage because they need time to actually just stave off, and that is a pretty good draw for Tyler.
It is a one-of Gluttonous Ooze. He plays one Ooze, one Mind Control tech in his list, as well as one Giggling Inventor, does Tyler. And tracking here feels sad to throw over, the most explosive card in your deck. You've got to be looking at a flanking strike. Yeah, imagine with that Houndmaster Shore in hand. Neither of the players' hands really doing anything until turn 3. You've got to say favors Tyler just a little bit.
Well, my big question now is because the way that this draw is also played out, no Keleseth, for example, does Tincho coin out the Hench Clan? We talked about this earlier today, and it wasn't done, and it caused a few problems.
Imagine if you coin Bird, right?
Okay.
Because it's not like your opponent can interact with it. This Candle Shot Hunter's Mark, which kills everything anyway, they can't
That's true,
flanking strike yet.
There's better payoff, isn't there, for the fledgling versus the Henge clan. Bomb, also a good card now.
That is an excellent answer off the top for Tyler.
What are the options?
Wind Fury.
Insta Fury.
Looks for stealth now. Doesn't get it.
Untargetable isn't the end of the world if there's a, say, a triple one-drop follow-up. It means Flanking Strike does not kill it off because you cannot target the bird.
Right.
And that's priority number one. Can I get this to attack next turn in any other way? And I think for that reason, we're going to see the... Wait, is he going to dagger attack? Okay.
Ooh,
that surprises me.
50 on his own terms here, and he does not look happy with the outcome.
Oh, no. Oh!
The bird goes down. Tyler now has a board swing available to him with the flanking strike, but he's actually got so much freedom now that he might just be dropping Shaw this turn because all the pressure has just disappeared from Tincho's side of the board. Raven, you look traumatized by that play.
I feel like that was tournament life on a 50-50. So Tincho could have gone wider with one drop.
I was going to say, what was wrong with just playing 3 1-drops and letting your opponent sort it out?
Because he had untargetable.
Right.
It can't be flanking strike. Right. There's only the Candle Shot draw and then a 1 in X, you know, 1 in 3, whatever, 1 in 4 with the bomb.
Oh, and that can... Speaking of Candle Shot draws, that Candle Shot draw is absurd. Candle Shot, flanking strike, snipe the Henge clan thug, get a rushing 3-3 that can fall clear the board. This one looks like it's slipping away fast from Tincho. He's having to fight from behind on turn 5. No activation for his Vilespine Slayer just yet.
Potentially game-winning turn. The power of that turn is absurd because it's not a turn hunters often get to do whilst clearing such an aggressive board. As a hunter, you're normally way further behind at this point, but this opening for Tyler's got the work done. He still has Ooze to effectively switch off Tincho's weapon as and when and cause him to try and spend either 2 mana or just take slower damage. It's absolutely huge. The SI7 agent just being played onto the board to get something done. Hunter's Mark as well. Oh my. You may become a very, very happy person very soon, Sol.
He's debating this Mark.
I would have snap played it.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about it myself.
Yeah, I'm 100%. Okay. You just don't want to take any damage. You don't want a Myra's Leroy Cobbler turn to kill you.
You're at 26.
Stay there.
Okay, yeah, right.
Like, you know, it's like
good argument.
Because you almost just don't lose if you just lock out damage this hard.
No, you're right. Yeah, with Terrascale Stalker in hand, that's the last piece of removal
you clear the board. You clear the board.
You're about to get 2 Shores, so that Hunter's Mark is the last piece of removal you ever need for this whole game.
Yeah, because now you see the Shore stacking, which is one of the best things, if not the best thing about playing this deck. And now Tyler can just play what he wants, clear what he wants, hit face with the minions that were there before, and Tincho's reactions say it all. There is no answer in this deck for Tincho that can beat this board. Tyler just sets up lethal through the sheer power of cubing that shot early on. And guys, after a lot of grinding, after a lot of work, you are seeing Tyler move on to the final day of the Fall Championship. Tincho fought bravely, but he could not get the job done. And that was a very tense, very close series. Sottle, take a breath.
Finally, yes, I'm very, very happy for Tyler. He is, outside of being a teammate and a friend of mine, a very, very deserving player to have this opportunity for him tomorrow to qualify for the World Championship. He's been doing it all. He's been hitting high legend. He's been getting tournament results recently. He's a great member of the community as well with his stream content and everything that he does surrounding that. So I am more than happy to see him potentially representing as Hearthstone at the World Championship.
Yeah, and we see he even told us he took a certain level of sacrifice this year in pulling back on his heavy stream schedule to focus on competitive play, and guess what? Seems to be paying off so far. There's the group, but most importantly, let's talk to Tyler.
Tyler is now 2 for 2 against Tincho, and you are moving on to the quarterfinals. Those games were really close, obviously went down to game number 5. What's going through your head right now? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, but that was so rough. It was so hard. Being 2-1 behind and knowing that my lineup is unfavored and having to beat him twice in this group, it was so hard. I feel like I've done the hardest part, and I feel like my top 8 match is going to be a little bit easier. But of course, there's still a rough road ahead of me. And yeah, I'm not planning to just take top 8. I'm planning to take the trophy. I need the trophy.
All right, you got your eye on the prize. I like that. We wouldn't expect anything less from you. I mean, you are one of the most dedicated players in Hearthstone. You've been in the scene for so long, and you finally have your chance to shine. You're gunning for that trophy, but you did have to go through Tincho twice. And like you said, you were unfavored. It was not an easy road. Did you change anything with your strategy or approach the series differently the second time around?
I mean, the only thing that I did differently was queue a different first deck. Basically, I went to Skype and I asked Casey, which deck should I queue? And he said, queue Quest Rogue. The other guy's going to queue Druid. I don't know how he got it, but he got it. So yeah, that was like the first match was really good for me. Oh, also, in the first game, was this card on turn 2 that he was thinking to play Power of the Wild? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Was it? They say yes. Sottle says yes.
Can I get +1 on my hand reading skills now? Production?
Give this man a star. Production says that's a yes. You're getting one more. Oh man, now that's another little victory. Final question. Obviously, you know, very popular streamer, player, grinder. A lot of fans at home who are really, really hoping for you to win. Sottle maybe most of all. Is there anything you want to say to the fans?
Yeah, thank all of you guys for being here and supporting me. I've had lots of people come up to me and be like, yeah, I watch the stream all the time. I'm really sorry that I haven't streamed for a month. I actually feel really guilty about it. But after this, I'll be back to full-time streaming. But yeah, thank you guys for all the support. And 2 packs, woo!
Back to full-time streaming and maybe with a trophy coming home as well. Congratulations, Tyler. We'll be seeing you tomorrow in your World Qualification match. Let's send it over to TJ and get some final thoughts on the day.
Day 3 is wrapped. One more day remains. Dan, I'm specifically coming to you for this question because for some reason I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on the day. And yours only.
I think today was full of a lot of exciting moments, a lot of dramatic finishes. You know, we finally got to see like reverse sweep because we were talking about how much reverse sweeps were happening in the Boomsday meta specifically. And then we also saw a lot of game 5s. That wasn't really happening a lot earlier in the tournament. And I think you could just see how much I enjoy Elimination Day just because of how the tension really rises as the day progresses.
Yeah, there's so many times backstage we're all just screaming, that's game, that's game, at the littlest thing, even on turn 2 or turn 3. But Kibler, I'll come to you guys in a second. Let's go ahead and take a look at our quarterfinalists for the final day. Actually, we're not going to take a look at the quarterfinalists.
Not going to.
Well, Kibler, what are your thoughts on the quarterfinalists?
You know, I think we have a great group of players who made it through. You know, I was happy to see that China is still alive with the victory of Xiao. I always have trouble pronouncing it.
Chai Miao.
Chai Miao. That's how I was going to mess it up. And then I just messed it up even more. Anyway, you know, that was an incredible match that he managed to pull out earlier, and you know, it's great to see the region still has hope going into the quarterfinals.
And admirable.
I got to echo the thoughts on Chai Miao. I think that he is the player that played the best from China, hands down. I think his play was very strong today in comparison to his first match, and I really love to see that. I do have a couple of question marks still for some of the players through the top 8. I think that the first group who made it through looked fantastic. I think the second group that made it through looked a little bit shaky. So if they want to, you know, pull out those matches and make it to Worlds, they're going to have to come back tomorrow a little bit more focused.
And here's a couple of those players that we saw qualify in day 2. Bloodyface will be playing against Sintolol. And then just saying, oh, actually, no, these are just groups. So Bloodyface, Sintolol, they're going to be playing against other players. Those are first and second place. It looked like they were playing each other.
They actually do cross.
Deceptive.
Just saying, we'll be playing Sinto for the top 8 spot. On the other side of the bracket, Bloodyface will be playing Chai Miao.
Yeah, that's right. And the Group C and D quarterfinalists, Bloodshare will be going up against Tyler. And Redmen versus Language Hacker. The thing that stands out the most to me, Dan, because I'm incredibly biased, is that we have 3 Americas players in the quarterfinals.
Right. Yeah, I think that's indicative of how strong Americas has come on, especially specifically the past few months in the 2018 season. I think Americas unfairly gets pegged as more of a free region because of the lower point requirements for playoffs. But I think the talent that's come through this season and just almost every season now shows that the top is still yet to be feared amongst the best.
Yeah, that's right. And now we can take a look at some of the trends with 3 days of play in the books. Brian Kibler, the first one, all 4 regions represented in the top 8 bracket. We were close to not having a Chinese representative, but Xiao Mao able to pull out the reverse sweep to make that happen.
Yeah, and this goes to show that there are strong Hearthstone players all across the world, and despite the struggles they've had in recent seasons, China is still alive and well.
Yeah, and the last point there, admirable. Priest not doing too well over the course of the last 3 days, with Lion King and Hot Tool both being eliminated with that deck in their lineup.
Priest is definitely a deck that works a lot better when there's more aggro in the field, and I think the fact that a lot of players went towards mid-rangey decks or combo decks or what have you, Priest just wasn't finding the right matchups. And even in some of the matchups it did find, in Death Rattle Hunter, it typically performs pretty well there. The Hunter players were just playing out of their minds. Like the Blood Trail series where he was just presenting just enough pressure to keep Hatul on the back foot and then compounding that pressure as soon as he smelled blood, I think was fantastic to see. And it really started to change my mind on the matchup as well. So I think Priest is good when there's a ton of, early all-in style aggro, but outside of that, probably leaving it by the wayside.
Yeah, just maybe a misread, but also some of the matchups that people have traditionally thought it'd beat, as you mentioned, not being as good as they may have thought. But we talked about regions earlier, and let's go ahead and take a look at the total record sorted by regions. America's at the top 7-3. Not something we're used to seeing, but a pretty cool fact nonetheless. Brian Kibler, does anything surprise you about this records by region graphic?
I will say that I do think the Americas record is a little bit surprising. I do think that people may have underestimated the Americas competitors coming in. Bloody Face in particular performed, I think, above the expectations of most people coming into this.
Definitely.
And it's not really a surprise to see Americas in general doing well, but I think just as well as it is doing is perhaps a little surprising.
Yeah, and if you look at the current World Championship lineup, it is 3 European players plus an Americas player. So, Dan, do you think Europe has underperformed so far in the Fall Championship?
I think it's about expected results. I think people had high hopes for Sinto, but they weren't sure about his preparation leading to the tournament. And I think today had just a really fun highlight reel of why we come to love Sinto. Mainly, much to the chagrin of himself when he burned Shutterwalk almost every single game or a key card. And I'm not looking forward to seeing, or actually perhaps I am looking forward to see what will happen if Just Saying once again manages to hit, his Hadronox or his Shutterwalk or his Grumble or something equivalent of that. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, it's cool to have those fun moments amongst the high stakes of the Fall Championship, and the casters are no different. I've been told that our production team has put together a montage of a few caster moments from throughout the day, so let's go ahead and take a look.
Coming to the stage first, please welcome Lion King.
Hakuna Matata.
You look pumped.
Oh, I am pumped. You better believe I'm pumped. I was pumped since day one. I've been pumped since I was born. I'm pumped right now.
Oh, never mind!
It happened!
Don't hide now, own it! Hold up those signs! You brought them!
Whoever was holding, don't. Walk away!
Bathe in that man's misery! Don't try and back out of it now!
It's like the saddle without the raven. You'd rather have the saddle, but ideally you want both. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you win in the most minor way possible.
I will take it today.
All right.
You still pumped, Admirable?
I am pumped. I was born pumped. And I'm going to stay pumped until we have our champion. And after that, I'm going to be pumped for our champion. And I'm not going to be pumped while I'm waiting for the next season, but I will be pumped when that season gets here. And I'm going to keep popping my peas like Dan does.
Move the microphone just an inch down.
Popping my peas.
I just think that Kibler and I just don't fight enough for these highlight reels. I think we're too cordial and friendly. I think maybe we could throw more jabs at each other.
Yeah, no, you guys, someone needs to put a little bit of a rift in between your guys' perfect caster relationship. Even Admiral and I have our arguments sometimes.
Yeah, but really all the time. But they usually end just...
It's always about really stupid stuff.
What they need to do is actually put a camera backstage. Because our reactions to their reactions is actually really fun.
Yeah, that's right. But enough fun. Let's take a look at the bracket for tomorrow as we move on to the quarterfinals. There it is in all of its glory. A lot of big names. What are you laughing at, Kibble? You want to fight right now?
Yes. I know where you're going with this.
I heard TJ say that he hates Shiro.
A lot of great players.
A lot of great players in this bracket, Kibler. What can you tell me about these players?
They're all great.
That's all you got?
Yeah, that's all I got. No, I'm really looking forward to the matchups tomorrow. I'm really excited to see just the first one, Bloodyface versus Xiaimiao. Bloodyface, as I mentioned earlier, really impressive performance so far, and Xiaimiao, the last hope of China.
Yeah, Dan and Admirable, final thoughts? Any match you're looking forward to?
I want to see the Language Hacker match. I think that he looked so much better today than he did in his first match that it was night and day. And if he can keep that up, I think that he's a contender to win the whole thing because I think his lineup's great too.
I mean, how can you not look forward to Saiyan versus Sinto? We want both these guys to go to the World Championship, but only one can. So there's going to be heartbreak, but there's also going to be a lot of fun moments. I just got to feel it, or perhaps we're overhyping it and it'll be a 3-0 sweep. But no matter what, I know I'm not going to miss it. And you guys better tell your friends at home not to miss it.
Yeah, that's right. But we can take a look at the schedule for the final day. We're going to go live same time, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 17:30 European time. Quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. Everything's on the line. The first four matches have competitors going to the World Championship. And then, of course, we'll crown a fall champion. But that's going to do it from us today. We open the doors to our tavern in Blizzard Arena on the third day of the Hearthstone Fall Championships. 12 competitors have the chance to earn 4 spots in tomorrow's quarterfinals. Sinto, Xiaimiao, Language Hacker, and Tyler battled their way to play another day. Who will become our 2018 Fall Champion? Tune in tomorrow for our final day of Hearthstone to find out. Until then, well played.